once again in the stunning location of Constanța on the Black Sea coast of Romania. The main beaches of this popular coastal resort provide the backdrop to the aerial arena in which some of the world's top competition pilots will battle it out over 2 days of non-stop action in a unique mix of airborne challenges that will push all-round flying skills to the limit. It's why Aero GP is the ultimate competition, and last year's winner here, Zoltán Veres from Hungary, knows he'll have to work hard to retain his crown.
The whole thing is quite challenging. I think it needs a whole pilot, a many-sided pilot, and that's the challenge I like about it.
Peter Podlansek from Croatia, the man who pushed Veres so hard last year, is also back once again with his stunning 230-mile-an-hour extra 300L. But the competition is even hotter this year, and among the newcomers is one of America's top air aces in his unusual Harmon rocket.
What really attracted me to Aero GP is the three event series. And I particularly like the air-to-air part of the event because I do have a military background and I taught at a civilian air combat school in extras for a while. And also the aerobatic competition, which is new for me. These guys are really experienced at that, so I'm kind of enjoying stacking myself up against some of Europe's best and learning to do the aerobatic competition stuff also.
Local hero Ian Postolacci is here again in his powerful yak combat trainer that sprang some surprises in the air racing and dogfight disciplines last year. From the UK, another first-timer here, but one of their most experienced aerobatic specialists. Mark Jeffries brings his highly tuned Extra 300S to the party. But compatriot Andy Bickmore has a much improved Sukhoi over the one he raced so well here last year and already knows the demands on man and machine.
Quite heavy demands, particularly when we go to places like this where it's hot. You know, the inside cabin temperature can go up to 60-70 degrees, so it is quite physically demanding.
Also from the UK, Jerry Cooper enters his first Aero GP in an unusual Cat 232, but he's loving it already.
Just the camaraderie of the pilots, the level of the flying, and the fact that it's more entertaining the crowd, really. This is a French-built Cat 232. It is a carbon wing, very, very strong, with a wooden fuselage, and comes from a sort of long lineage of French-built competition unlimited aeroplanes. The reason I choose this aeroplane is because it is the best in the world, in my opinion, and is well suited all round.
A fantastic gathering then of flying talent and machines on their first test, the discipline at the core of Aero GP, the air racing, that will take place around a 1 kilometre oval just off the beach. And qualifying race 1 was to be a great start for the American.
We got out there, we got lined up because of the speed of the aircraft, the qualifying speed. I was on the pole for the first race. On the inside, we ramped down onto the course. The engine was just purring like a sewing machine. The airplane jumped off the line and I got a nice quick start ahead of everybody on the front straight.
Down to 50 feet off the ways at over 200 miles an hour, only meters apart. Plenty of nerve required for racing. Then the skill in picking the right turning in point like any motor racing driver. But then holding the right arc through the turn to keep the best speed all the time. Your body and head fighting forces of over 10 G. But unlike, say, Formula 1 motor racing, in this sport everything happens in 3D.
Made the first turn around pylon 3 and 4, came down the front straight, was holding the lead. After that, I was looking over my shoulder the whole time. Zoli in the white and red extra was just nipping at me the entire next 8.5 laps, and I could see Peter just behind him.
But as well as flying the machine to the limit and resisting constant physical battering, Aero GP racing is also a constantly moving 3D chess puzzle, all at the same time.
You count everybody in and you count everybody around you. You know you started with 6 airplanes, so you every second and every part of the course, your job is to know where everybody else is, as well as doing the job of trying to overtake the next person in front of you. So your mindset is really trying to visualize the picture that you've got around you all the time and keep you constantly moving.
On to the last lap of qualifying race 1, and Smokey Young still had the lead, but only just. Veres banking tightly behind him to head out onto the back straight, going a little higher to maybe get some speed out of the turn. But on his tail in turn, that's Podlansek we can see behind him. And he had come out of that turn higher in order to drop down and gain speed on the Hungarian. Certainly you can never write off the Slovenian. And looking out over his wing there is Veres, and he's gaining on him, but he's drifting wide. Brett's ready to come in very tight around this final turn. But Veres, in turn, gaining on the American ahead. Could he spring a last-minute surprise into this final turn as well? He comes left and lower as they approach the turn, perhaps trying to push the American out. But Smokey Young turned first. He had plenty of room, and he wasn't having anything of the pressure tactics. Veres, meanwhile, was having to turn tight with Podlansek right on his tail.
It was a real tough, real competitive race. Matter of fact, on the last one, I thought there for a minute Zoli was going to sneak up on me. I pushed it over a little bit, ramped right down to the wave tops, picked up a few extra knots, just enough to stay ahead of him.
So as they came to the line, it was the American, holding on by inches from Veres, separated by split seconds from Podlansek. Mark Jeffries was to come in taking fourth. Postolacci's yak followed up in fifth, and Andy Beckmore was sixth in the Sukhoi. More qualifying and extended action from the final decisive race later. Meanwhile, let's take a look at challenge number 2. It's the discipline Peter Podlansek dominated last year in his extra 300L. My plane has a deficiency of being a two-seater. It's heavier than the other planes, but in terms of aerodynamics and horsepower, which is up this year, it is a very competitive aeroplane. It's the ultimate cat and mouse tail chase game. 2 minutes to register 3 hits if you can on your opponent, and then 2 minutes being chased, trying to avoid being hit. It's frantic stuff, and Andy Beckmore with his powerful but nimble Sukhoi was the first to qualify for the semi-finals. Quarter-final 2, Romania's Postolacci is in his yak Warbird, which is built for this. But he's outmanoeuvred by new boy Jerry Cooper in his Cat 232. Quarter-final 3, and Postolacci is drawn against another new boy to the discipline, Mark Jeffries. But his Aero GP experience just gives him the edge. Quarter-final 4, and Veres has the high ground over Smokey Young. Despite the American's attempts to shake him, the Hungarian gets 2 hits in and takes revenge for the race defeat. So it's celebration time for Veres, and only one newcomer survives their first taste of Aero GP head-to-head combat.
It's hard work. It's probably one of the hardest dogfighting, and it's very close quarters as well, so it's very easy to get into trouble in terms of losing the dogfight. But this aeroplane, from what we've seen so far, is excelling in that discipline because it's very, very good in tight turns and in maintaining its speed under G. So it seems at the moment to be excelling in that discipline.
And hardly time to draw breath as we go to challenge number 3, the freestyle aerobatics, where the pilots who often earn their living from airshow displays are let loose as individuals to perform the toughest combination of aerobatic manoeuvres that they can within a given 4-minute window. This is not flying for the faint-hearted. Yes, they love showing off. Aero GP is a serious business, both for the pilots and their specialist mechanics, especially when poor conditions on the second morning add to the pressure.
As far as the course is concerned, once again, the decreased visibility. We're traveling at very, very high speeds around the course, so you've got to come around the pylon, find the next pylon, and when the visibility is reduced, away you go. I wanted to introduce my good friend, though, here, Zoli. Come here. No, I do. I want Zoli in here. I've been flying. I've been flying for 28 years. I got almost 8,000 hours of pilot time. This guy is the best. The absolute best. It's like
Except me.
Great camaraderie behind the scenes then, as we go to the other qualifying race with our commentator, Chris Hartley.
6 high-performance aircraft, 6 of the world's most skilled pilots, 10 low-altitude laps just above the Black Sea. The race about to get underway, but early disappointment for Zoltan Veric as he retires with some sort of problem. So drama before they even start as the reigning Aero GP champion retires. And this is going to blow the race wide open. Of the remaining 5, it's Jerry Cooper, who's made a magnificent start here. He's making his debut in the series, but he's a vastly experienced pilot, having flown everything from high-performance sports planes like this CAP 232, right through to transport planes and even vintage aircraft. So Cooper stamps his authority on the first turn, and as we look back at the Britain's cockpit, you can see just how close to the water these guys are flying. Now it's Peter Podlunczak in second place, and he's taken a much higher line through the apex. The idea is that he'll dive low now, using gravity to help him pick up speed. On board with Podlunczak in second place, Cooper to the left, and the Slovenian's tactic is working like a dream as he draws up alongside the leader. Podlunczak in the red and silver extra, just ahead as he dips the left wing to negotiate the next turn, but he's stuck on the outside line with more distance to cover, and so the yellow machinery of Cooper stays tight and stays ahead. Back with Podlunczak, and you can see Cooper pulling clear again as they go around the marker buoy on the water. Here's the red and white stripes of Smokey Young in third. A mixed weekend so far after winning the qualification race but failing to make it past the quarter-finals in the dogfight. Right on top of him, it's the shooter, Mark Jeffries, the British national aerobatic champion. The pair of them virtually inseparable at this stage of the race. Back to the leaders, Cooper still keeping Podlunczak at bay. And remember, this is his first ever Aero GP race because he didn't feature in the first qualifier. As you can see though, Podlunczak is right behind. There's no way through here, but he's planning ahead and trying to build up a run at the lead coming out of the turn. The multiple Slovenian aerobatic champion is coming through, and Cooper gives the thumbs up to say he's not going to fight the corner. He knows it belongs to Peter. Now there's an increasing number of seagulls drifting onto the course, and that was the problem for Veric, who has since rejoined the race at the back.
Main problem was many birds, so we had to take care of each other, who is where and so on, and also avoiding the birds. Not everybody was successful with that.
And with the threat of flying into the birds increasing and the rain beginning to fall, the organisers red flagged the race several laps early, so Podlunczak wins from Cooper, with Young third after Mark Jeffries pulled out of the race following another close shave.
I was just coming down the straight from turn 3, just about to go into turn 4, and I was just banking very slightly, and there's a huge bang. It was one of those large white seagulls just hit the wing, and I just rolled level and gently pulled up because of possible damage, pulled out of the racetrack. It's safe to fly, quite clearly, because it hasn't affected the main spar, it's just affected the skin.
So the race team quick to respond to the dangers. Have no doubt these guys are tested to the full here in Aero GP. Join us for the full air race showdown and the dogfight finale after the break. Welcome back to the Aero GP here in Constanta, Romania, as we go straight into the semi-finals of the dogfight. Podlunczak versus Cooper, and Cooper is on the defence with the Slovenian chasing. Once again, our commentator Chris Hartley.
Well, here's Peter Podlunczak, who excelled in this discipline at the 2007 Constanta Aero GP. But British ace Jerry Cooper has been proving very hard to keep track of in this first part of the dogfight. And as the clock runs down, Podlunczak has only managed to score 1 hit. So they change over for part 2 of this dogfight as Cooper chases Podlunsek, the Slovenian, with a slender 1-point lead to try and defend. Oh, look at that! Cooper's got him already. The smoke trail from the back of Podlunsek's extra turned on to verify that he's been targeted and hit by his pursuer. So suddenly it's 1 point each, and Cooper still has plenty of time to strike again. If he does that, he will go through to the final of the dogfight. On board with Podlunsek as he climbs high to try and lose his opponent, but former UK aerobatic champion Cooper also enters the steepest of climbs, closes right up to Podlunsek, and that's another hit. 2-1. He can't be beat now, and he'll go through to the final with one of the biggest upsets of the competition. Jerry Cooper is turning out to be the find of the weekend. Into semi-final 2 as two old rivals meet. Andy Bittmore's Sukhoi sits off the tail of Zoltan Veres' extra. Bittmore has drawn to chase first, and Veres has to dodge, duck and dive to get away from the British air display pilot. The pair of them slicing up the sky. On past form, Veres, the Red Phantom, will be the favourite. He's massively famous in his home country, starring in up to 50 air displays each year, and he's just too slippery for Bittmore, who fails to score. So now the tables have turned as Veres goes on the hunt. One strike here will be enough to put him through to the final, where Jerry Cooper awaits. They climb high, and Veres lines up his target, but a sharp turn from Bittmore buys some time. They spiral down again, but Veres remains super glued to the tail of Bittmore. Veres closes right up to the back of his opponent. Surely he can lock on. Not quite, but Bittmore is living very dangerously. He stall turns out and heads back to earth. Veres will have to think again. He's come tantalisingly close to scoring. It's just not happening. On board with Zolly, and literally a few metres in front of us, there's Bittmore. He tries to turn out of it, but I think the Hungarian was locked onto him for long enough. And there you go, the judges agree, and on comes the smoke to signal the hit. 1-0 to Zoltan Veres, and that will be enough to send him through. A huge grin on his face. These boys were having some serious fun out there. But despite the showmanship, Zoltan is serious about the trust that's required between pilots.
Yeah, trust in the pilots, but not the trust in the situation. You never can trust. You are always prepared for the worst. It could be a fast movement of the other airplane, a bird coming up, a possible engine failure, and if you are all prepared for that in every minute, every moment, and you know alternatives in every moment, I think at that point you are close to be safe.
So we go to the main race of the weekend. Points so far dictating the start line.
So the 220-mile-an-hour charge into turn 1 begins, and it's Smokey Young at the stick of the red and white plane who takes the early lead from Jerry Cooper. Chasing pack Veres, Podlunsek, and the black and white machine of Andy Horsepower Bittmore. Defending champion Veres could do with a win here after his problems in race 1, but he's slipped behind Podlunsek for third. Back with ex-US Air Force fighter pilot Smokey Young, calling on his 25 years flying experience to lead. Meanwhile, Veres has just snatched third place back. This is the man who in 2007 set the world record for the most number of consecutive rolls in a plane. He did, get this, 408 consecutive rolls. And he hoped he didn't have a big lunch before he did that one. So it's Young from Cooper, Veres, Podlunsek, Bittmore, and the Romanian Postolacci at distance 6 on board with Podlunsek. And as you can see, Young and Cooper to the left, but not Veres. So third place may well have swapped around again. The Slovenian and the Hungarian, who battled so hard for last year's title, are having a proper dice out there. And indeed, Veres has slipped back once again to 4th place. That won't be good enough, not with his main rivals Young and Cooper ahead, and not forgetting that Cooper has also made it through to the forthcoming dogfight final. Tracking alongside Podlunsek at over 200 miles an hour, and the Slovenian's on a mission as he pulls alongside Cooper. And over on the far side you can see the leader Young, so it's 3 abreast in the battle for second place. Look at this, they're practically fighting over the same small piece of airspace. Podlunsek to the outside, Veres to the inside, and Cooper sandwiched in between them. Young in front, Cooper taking the highest line, and then Podlunsek going out wide, so they're all ganging up at the American as they bank through the turn. Here's the view for Podlunsek, homing in on the race leader, wider through the turn, but he's carried the speed, and as they hit the straight he powers past Young. But he can't call the place his own until they reach the next turn. In Aero GP, every overtaking move has to be planned and executed over almost an entire lap, and it looks to me as though Podlunsek has outsmarted them all with a wonderful move that takes him from third straight up into the lead of the race. Showing his class as the distinctive silver and red Extra 300 has nothing but clear air in front of it for the first time in this race. The red and white stripes of ex-B-52 bomber pilot Smokey Young demoted to second then, but the pressure's not off because he's still got Jerry Cooper on his tail. Looking back from Cooper's plane, you can see Zoltan Veres still in 4th. At the very least, he needs to get ahead of the Brit to keep his title hopes alive. Down the back straight they charge as we head into the closing stages. So here is Podlensek, the race leader, already beginning to pull away, and a win here would certainly push him up the overall points table. It's likely put him in contention for the overall Aero GP title. Here's the battle for second again, and it seems that Smokey Young is edging back away. Third place Jerry Cooper in the red and yellow cap 232 is slipping back into the clutches of Zoltan Veres. And once again, Cooper almost skimming the surface of the water as he takes the turn, glances over to keep one eye on Veres, who's gone to his right on a slightly higher line. And all this infighting will help Podlensek pull away further with no one to worry about. He can take his ideal line and height into every turn. Here's Veres, winner of the inaugural Aero GP back in 2005, as he continues to try and outfox Jerry Cooper just off the shoreline, the Mumbai Beach here in Constanta. Synchronised flying as the pair of them bank into the turn together, just meters apart, and the outcome of this battle could well have implications in the overall title. The two of them will also be going head-to-head in the final of the dogfight. For the time being, Cooper keeps the place, and if anything, the pair of them look like they might even close on Young in second. Tremendous battle is between three ultra-experienced pilots, but hats off to both Young and Cooper, who have far less Aero GP experience than the man they're keeping behind them, Zoltan Veres. And indeed, they have closed on Young. He's right of frame, Cooper in the middle, then Veres to our left as we head on to the final lap. A great big gap over him now to the race leader, Podlensek, who, remember, was back in fourth in the opening laps. And now look, down the back straight, both Veres and Cooper have suddenly got past the former race leader, Young. Veres, in fact, has passed them both up to second, but Cooper will try and hold his own around the outside. Here, though, is Peter Podlensek as he crosses the line to take the race victory, and it will be Veres who steals second place with that late smash and grab raid on the final lap. Jerry Cooper just behind him in third, but still very much in contention for the overall title as we head towards that final dogfight. And then it's the black and white machine of Andy Bickmore. There's Smokey Young, so he slipped from second to fifth in the closing stages, and that's blown his chances of the overall title.
And in fact, that recovery by Veres is to prove vital. It takes the competition to the wire between himself and this man, Jerry Cooper. Cooper shows his respect for the Hungarian. Respect offered back from Veres. This final dogfight will now also decide the overall title.
So it's the defending champion versus the pretender. That late move from Veres in the race has put him in with a chance of retaining his crown. But he needs to beat Cooper to move ahead. The Hungarian will do the chasing for the first half of the duel. Cooper has just a bit of pressure to deal with here. He climbs high and hurls the cap around in an attempt to shake off Zoltan's close attentions. Veres follows suit, but he's trying to outmaneuver a man that finished 8th in the World Aerobatic Championships in Spain last year. So at the moment, Cooper doing a good job of staying off target. Out in the open skies, though, you can run, but there's nowhere to hide. Cooper always looking around him, always aware of exactly where his opponent is. And at the end of the first half, he avoids being hit. So now they switch and Cooper hunts down Veres, but Cooper will know that he can't lose this now. At worst, it's going to be a draw, and that means, come what may in the rest of this dogfight, he's going to be our new Aero GP champion here in Constanta, Romania. Not satisfied with that, though, Cooper's on his tail. The judges confirm the hit spoke, and that's 1-0 to Cooper. That absolutely will cement his position at the top of the leaderboard. What a debut it's been for him. And there Veres goes over the top, but Cooper comes over the top with him, upside down. He chases the Hungarian down again, and it's strike 2 to the Briton. He's beaten the favourite, he's beaten the champion, and you can see the smile in his eyes, because now he is the champion. Jerry Cooper, it's time to celebrate.
Meanwhile, Veres finishes off with a last display for the crowd. He hangs on to his memories, but not the crown. A true professional and a true entertainer. And our scoreboard confirms it overall. Podlensek in third place. Veres has to be satisfied with second. And the dark horse of the competition, Jerry Cooper, is our Aero GP champion 2008 here in Constanta, Romania.
De manevrabilitatea avionului pilotat de acest câștigător de pe podium de pe locul întâi, Jerry Cooper.
It's been good fun, really a good bunch of guys, a very nice setting, and some good flying. Yeah, it was good fun. I enjoyed it very much.
And we've enjoyed it too. Spectacular planes, spectacular skills, spectacular racing. We hope you'll join us for another Aero GP coming your way soon.